Hello and welcome to Sorastro's Painting. In this video I'll be painting the spectacular terrain piece that comes with the Am No Jedi Deluxe Duel Pack for Star Wars Shatterpoint by Atomic Mass Games. The terrain depicts the setting of the epic duel from Star Wars Rebels between Ahsoka Tano and Darth Vader in the ancient Sith Temple on the planet Malachor. I'll be painting Ahsoka and Vader at a future point and focusing just on the terrain for this video, doing my best to capture the lighting and ambience from that pivotal scene. Let's begin. Assembly is reasonably straightforward. I chose to glue the main platform together, but have kept the two halves of the central structure and all of the pieces of Crackling Energy separate for now. I quite like to mask off any of the joins with some white tack so I can more easily glue plastic to plastic later on. This is also useful for mounting the various pieces for priming. I'm now priming the whole lot in black, although you could also save time here by priming the Crackling Energy in white. Next I'm using some crimson ink to tint the ground, and most reds would be fine for this. With all of the colours I'm applying with the airbrush, I like to thin the paint with water mixed with a few drops of flow enhancer. This can be applied in a couple of layers, but we want the overall look to remain pretty dark. I'm now spraying all of the pieces of Crackling Energy with 2 or 3 layers of white. And we may as well give Ahsoka Tano some zenithal highlights. And we can also hit the blades of the lightsabers. Returning to the ground, I'm now painting all of the glowing markings, firstly with pure white. You can use whatever white you like for this, but the more opaque the better. A couple of layers will be needed to really max out the values, so might take a while. Next I'm going to spray some Fluorescent Red, which is really more orange, over the top. I'm applying this in light, even layers, building up the intensity to my liking. Naturally, we're also hitting much of the surrounding ground along the way, and this is fine. I then chose to introduce some variation by applying some irregular patches of yellow. These are pigments by Hera Models, which I've once again simply mixed with water and a little flow enhancer. I'm now providing a protective coat of ultra matte varnish for what I'll be doing next. To make painting the pillars that bit easier, I chose to mask off the entire ground area with some low tack masking tape. I'm now using the Pro neutral grey tones to paint the stonework, starting with some dark neutral grey. We can then work our way up through the lighter tones, applying the paint from a roughly overhead angle. We can create some gentle gradients to add interest as we go. My brightest tone is somewhere between neutral grey and bright neutral grey. And I want the insides of these sections to be pretty bright. Next I'm using some sponge to add some fine texture, using both lighter and darker tones from the palette. This creates an important bit of contrast with the smooth finish of the floor. We can also go pretty bright with some of the edge highlights using the side of the brush and some bright neutral grey. Here I'm thinning some white down quite a bit with some water and flow enhancer, and I'm then coating the two inner sides of the central structure, allowing the paint to pool in the fine recesses. I'm now returning to the airbrush to bring back the white levels for some of the energy effects that got hit with the grey. And for what it's worth, we can go a shade darker for some of the nearby stonework using the brush. I'm now going to tint all of the Crackling Energy, and I'll be freely mixing some pink and purple pigments with some white to create some gentle variation. We can also tint these inner panels too. Here I'm mixing in a little more of the purple to vary the hue. We can also go pretty saturated for the undersides of the stonework here. I'm now removing the masking tape along with all of the white tack. And we can go ahead and glue the central structure together. Here we want to ensure that the two halves of the holocron join up nicely in the middle. We can then do a little retouching. I'm now judging the level of pink I want to use to create some coloured light on the ground. I'm applying this in a gentle build-up of layers, starting from the centre and working my way out. I also want to tint the insides of these pillars. Along the way, we can dry fit the various parts to see how things look. Next, I decided to use some dark red to increase the red levels for the rest of the ground. I found this deceptively bright on its own, so began adding some black to tone things down. As well as tinting the floor with this, I also added a little red ambience to the outer parts of the stonework. I'm now just going back and forth a little with the pink to red tones on the ground to achieve a pleasing overall gradient and ambience. Here I'm actually pushing the pink tones back a little with some of the darkened red. Once we're happy, we can go ahead and glue the central structure along with the various energy effects to the base. I'm now adding various touches to finish the piece off, including some pink edge highlighting along some of these edges that are facing the central column. And I'm doing the same here for these pillars. I also chose to add some more dense patches of white to the energy effect to heighten the contrast. And as we've somewhat darkened down these glowing lines, I'm now reapplying one or two brighter spots using some white mixed with a little of the red and yellow fluorescent tones we used earlier. We can go especially bright as we get closer to the holocron. I'm now just applying some thinned grey to the holocron itself. And I'm continuing to play around with the energy effects using both touches of white along with some more purplish, darker patches. We can also tidy up the rim. And here I'm mixing some warmish grey tones to loosely pick out some of the exposed metallic detailing under the ground. I'm now just adding some general edge highlights to sharpen things up a little. And after a final spray of ultra matte varnish, the Sith Temple is complete. Thank you for joining me. As usual, you'll find a full paint and product list in the video description, along with links to all of the places I can be found online. My very special thanks go to my amazing patrons for helping to fund this work. If you'd like to help support what I do, feel free to hit the Patreon link and pledge what you can. Join me again soon as we continue painting miniatures from Star Wars Shatterpoint. Happy painting!